just for the recording to start. Fantastic. Well, morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us with Linda this morning. Very, very excited. It has been an amazing journey that she's had, and she's going to take you through that. You all have her bio, so I'm not going to go into that, but Linda is going to give you more of a personal story this morning. So, Linda, thank you so much for being with us. I know it's quite early for you in the morning, so great that you could be with us. But over to you, and looking forward to the session with you this morning.
Oh, thank you, Colleen. Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies, guys, whoever's on the call. It's just fabulous to sort of engage with people on a Thursday morning. It's a bit early morning for me, but I'm an early riser, so that's fine. Just for you to get to know me, for you guys that follow me on LinkedIn. I started sharing a bit of personal stories in the last 3 months, but I'm happy to share more. A little bit of a different story, but let me go. It's I come from a small town. I come from a set of societal norms. Some of it was suppressive against girls, and some of it was empowering towards girls. And I give you one example. I don't know how to swim. Okay? And I don't know how to swim because growing up, girls don't swim. Okay, but I knew how to ride a bicycle. So growing up for me, it was during the apartheid years, and at that time there were just so many wonderful things. There was so much hope. I know Mandela got released in 1991. I was in high school at the time, and I consider myself the first youth of the new South Africa, which worked in my favor sort of as years went by. I've never studied full time. I've never went to university full time. I started working at the age of 19. All my studies was done part time, and it was tough, right? Because I'm working and I'm studying. So for many years of my life, it was going to university from 5 to 8:30 in the evenings. In that time, I got married. And one of the reasons I got married, because I met an amazing guy at the time that was so different from me. And growing up in the society that I grew up, your first boyfriend will be your husband. Okay? And our parents met, we eventually got a serious relationship. And 2 years into the marriage, when my daughter was already born, my daughter was born 4 years after the marriage, I started having a whole lot of problems. I suppose this problem started way before, but it just exacerbated. So I got divorced when she was quite young. And just after the divorce, I moved to Johannesburg, a pivotal moment in my life. But I moved to Johannesburg, leaving my 2-year-old with my parents. But I went for change. I went for something different. And then I was a single mother for 5 years. And then my career was getting so much better. I then studied again part-time, did an MBA, and then I got married again. Okay, also another amazing guy. And my career subsequently done well. I eventually got that MBA. You guys will see my bio who I've worked for, but I don't think that's important right now. It's more about just my journey. And then, yeah, sort of fast forward 10 years later, COVID happens, and COVID was special for me. And I suppose it was different things for different people. But I tell you why COVID was special for me. It was a time of reflecting. It was a time of just sitting at home. Yes, things were demanding because my job was extremely demanding at that time. But it was a time for me to spend very closely with myself. It was time to also spend with my daughter and my husband. And I suppose we upon reflection, we had the difficult conversations. And what the difficult conversations meant, it meant us going through divorce. So ladies, guys, this is leading to divorce number 2. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in terms of some of my limiting beliefs that I went through and what change meant for me in my journey. But that was a hard process for us emotionally, because it's a question of now, what are people going to think of me when this is the second time around? My daughter was older at the time, and the change that I was going through and the reflection that I was going through led me to go to Mount Kilimanjaro. But that journey was not just for myself. It was, how do I raise money with the Nelson Mandela Foundation and Trek for Mandela, raising money for girls that are in need, girls that do not have sanitary wear. Because I was going through something. I was going through, really, what is my purpose in life? What am I here to do? What is the impact that am I supposed to make? What should I be giving back, considering I'm so grateful for life? I was thankful at the time that I had a job, I had a family, I had good health. And I just said, what can I give back? So I went to Kili, summited Kili, came back, raised a lot of money for a lot of girls, a total of 4,200 girls, had sanitary wear for a year, and then spent some time with them in their schools when we handed over the sanitary wear. And since then, life is moving at an exponential change. And I'll tell you why. Is it from unpacking who I am, what are my fears, what are my insecurities? It started to reveal things in my past, what the decisions I made and why I made them. And a lot of them had to do with what my fears were, okay? Some of those fears led me to good things. Some of those fears held me back. But then what that did is it gave me, came back from the mountain, 6 months later, I get a call from my previous boss and says, how do you feel to go to London? I wasn't thinking this. Was I thinking change, and was I thinking something new and different? Yes, I was. Was I thinking to come to Nando's London? No, it didn't cross my mind, only because of the incumbent that was doing the job. I didn't think the person was going to leave. But lo and behold, 2 years later, or 2.5 years later, I'm now in London, and it is one of the best decisions that I've made in my life, amongst the other decisions that I've made in my life. So yeah, so that's me. That's my journey. And in between that, what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about two things. One is the different changes that I've been through in my journey. And in between those changes, how some of the things that I had that held me back, okay? And limiting beliefs is something that we feel strongly about, and we believe that is certain. Either it comes from our childhood or it comes from society, and in many ways they hold them back. And I'll share with you, ladies, the first one that I went through is when I was in my first marriage, and I'm being personal here because I'm trusting the audience, and it's a journey that I've gone through to just be open so people can learn from me. I'm brought up in a society where women don't get divorced. Women don't have problems. And I remember my mom and dad saying this to me, that you made the decision, you dated this guy for a long time, you now have a child. What are people going to say? So I come with this limiting belief of, what are people going to say? What is society going to say? And that stuck with me for a long time. When I say long time, it stuck with me for the 2 years, because I started having problems with my husband, or the problems exacerbated from the time that she was born. And it just held me back to make that decision. And I'm thankful for the people that I had surrounded with me. I'm thankful for just saying that I can't do this to myself. But it took me a while. And then eventually we did separate. But then the opportunity came to Johannesburg. And the question was, how do I go? I'm a single mother. The dad is not taking any responsibilities. I'm going to a new city. Now, mind you, 20 odd years ago, coming to Johannesburg was a massive move for me. And I struggled with that. I struggled with making that decision. And it was, a mother's role is to be with a child all the time, because that's what my mother did, what my parents did to us. And I struggled with, how do I put my career first? And this could be taboo in many societies, in many families. Hold on, a woman has to put her child first. And that was something where I was tossed up. A great opportunity came. I was ready to leave where I am. I want to change because a marriage ended. And this all seemed to be coming to me at this time. And I had to do it. Something in me said I had to take on this opportunity. Yes, there was this leaving my daughter behind, leaving with my parents. I'm very thankful for my parents because they said they're going to help me. But what I did when I took the role, every weekend I commuted. I commuted between Johannesburg and Pietermaritzburg. And I don't know if there's anyone in the room that commutes between Johannesburg and Pietermaritzburg or Johannesburg and Durban. Beautiful thing is South Africa has got lovely roads, and we've got so many modes of transport from a bus to a car. So I commuted, and was there guilt in me? Yes, there was. And I did it, and I'm glad I did it. But there came a point in time where another moment of change that says, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable that I'm losing the bond with my child. What is my child going through every weekend that she's seeing me and then I'm leaving? But then confidence grew in me. I got another job in that process. I became secure financially and emotionally. I had a strong network of friends that were prepared to help me, and I brought my daughter up. And I brought her up, and that was just joy, and that was happiness for me. But if you look at the two changes that I went through at that moment in time, it brought me happiness. It brought me joy. It brought me growth because I saw myself growing, moving from Pietermaritzburg to Johannesburg. I started engaging with different people. I was starting to learn things. It was an exciting time. And it also brought me opportunities. And if I look back, and if I look at the fear that I had in making those decisions and the limiting beliefs that I had, it reassured me that the decisions that I was making, they were good for me. Yes, when I moved up to Johannesburg, the job that I went to, it was tough because it was an unhealthy environment. It was a difficult boss that I worked for. It was not good. But in that, I said, just let me just work with this. Let me just work with what I have. Now, mind you, I've also got fears and insecurities because I just moved from a small town. I moved to a management job. I questioned myself. And this is the limiting beliefs that we have with each other, or with ourselves, actually, is, am I good enough? Am I going to be a good leader? Can I be successful? We also ask ourselves as women, can I do this as a woman, especially in male-dominated environments? And then another thing that, we ask ourselves, people of color, is, can I manage people that are not of the same color of me? And that's what I went through. That's what I went through at that time. But these were all the limitations that I had. I had the limitations of, am I good enough? Am I qualified enough? Because I became a manager at a very young age. At that time, I was only 27 years old. I really, really doubted myself. I doubted myself so much. At the same time, I wanted to prove myself that being in this toxic environment just exacerbated all that. And eventually I left. And eventually I left because I just said, this is just too much. I left, and I moved on to another opportunity. The relationship with my daughter and I just got stronger. But now when I look at a few things that happened in my life, and just some things that I could leave with everyone in the room, is you attract who you are. Did I attract a husband at the time based on some of the insecurities that I felt? I wasn't charismatic enough. I wasn't extroverted enough, because that's how he was. And I'm not saying opposites don't attract, okay? But coming back is, I attracted who I was at that moment in time, okay? The fears, the limitations that I had on myself, it just it came into my life, and some of it, I recognized it a bit earlier on, and I recognized I was just starting to be self-aware, reading, etc., to say, this is not serving me well. And I suppose some of those things follow you. It follows you later on in life. And what I've particularly learned in the last 3 to 4 years is that unless you deal with some of those root causes of my limiting beliefs, it's going to hold me back. And if I look at my journey of my career, and if I look at where I've had challenges with people, where I've had challenges with a leader, where I've had challenges with doing meaningful work, it was things that were systemic, and some of the things were just going way back to my early days in life. And because I didn't deal with them, some of them follow me, and some of them did follow me. And until we sit back and we look and we reflect and we say, what is holding me back? That's only when we get to a state of consciousness. And when we get to consciousness, we say, I've got to do something different. I've got to think different. I've got to act different. It's a journey. It's not, doesn't come easy. So I'll share with you, ladies, very openly, the limiting belief that I do have right now is I can't swim. I can't swim, right? You know, we are 3 daughters. We questioned my dad several times about, because all 3 girls can't swim, but my cousins, the boys, they all know how to swim. So we asked him, we said, Dad, why didn't you take us to the swimming pool? There was a community swimming pool. He said, oh, no girls swam. So it's something that I have in my head. My mum, my aunts, a lot of my close friends at the time don't know. But it's something that I've got to work with. I've been to swimming lessons many, many times. I got to get over that fear, right? And that's what's sitting in the back of my head. Because I do love water. I mean, I go on holidays, there's beautiful pools, there's the ocean, and it's kind of sad that I can't make good use of it, or I can't have more fun in it. But so yeah, that's in essence me, some stories on my limiting beliefs, what has held me back. But more importantly, it's what the change did for me. And every single time I've had change, because I just said, I'm not gonna accept this. I don't want this for myself because this is holding me back. And I'm gonna leave a few things with everyone in the room in terms of some self-discovery through my entire journey. Is I've discovered that in many respects I was a misfit, but I was a misfit living in conforming rules and society and workplace. I was a misfit being the only female in the room. I was a misfit being the only non-white person in the room. Okay? I was a misfit sometimes being the only South African in the room. And then I'm a rebel. Okay? I'm a rebel whilst being loyal to my professional relationships and my personal relationships. I stay long in companies. For me, it's a good thing. I've moved jobs. But in between that, I've always challenged the status quo. I've always questioned my job. I've questioned my personal life. I've questioned things that I do as a leader. So I've always been a rebel in that. The next one, I am an outlier. I'm an outlier while also blending in and feel normal. I give you an example that I'm going through right now. I'm working for Nando's UK, and I'm a female in an environment that's with a lot of English people, and I'm a female of color, and I'm coming from South Africa. So in many ways, I'm an outlier, but I embrace it, okay? And I love it because I work for just an amazing company that's so embracing with that. I'm a change maker, and I struggle with stagnation. Personally, if I look at everything I've done, everything small, everything that I wanted to change, I just struggle with stagnation. And when I feel stagnated, I feel like I'm holding myself back. Okay. it took me a while to discover this, but I'm a visionary and a dreamer. Sometimes I just dream maybe a bit too much, but I am ruled with the head and the heart, and I found a balance over the years. For many, many years, I was ruled with the head. I've got to be logical. I was sometimes risk averse in some of the things that I did. And I've started to take far more risks. Okay, some bigger than others, and some didn't work out. Some of those risks didn't work out. Okay, I am a creator of goodness. I love goodness. I love happiness. I love joy. I love making people smile. Okay, and I just eliminate when other people make other people unhappy. As a leader, I have a big team in South Africa. There's moments when, as a leader, you've got to make tough decisions. You've got to make tough decisions because it's for the greater good of the team. Okay. And I also take responsibility for my life, and I'm not a victim. And I say that because as a South African, growing up in apartheid, we brought up with so much of victimhood, and as a woman, victimhood on you're not good enough, or you have been deprived, you've been suppressed, you've been marginalized, all those sort of things I heard consistently as a child. I learned with my parents, because my parents were blue-collar workers, and being blue-collar workers, they faced a lot of suppression. So I had that for many years. I had that in growing up, going to corporate roles as well, that I'm not like this, I'm not like that. And I realized that put me into a victimhood state. And I said, no, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for where I am, and I'm grateful for the opportunities. And I think the last one is I am in control of my own actions, and I cannot control someone else's actions. As a leader, I can influence, I can motivate, I can walk the talk, but I cannot control someone else. And I'm guilty. My first husband, I tried to control him. I tried to make him like me. I tried to make him do the things that I wanted to do. And in my early days of management, and I say management because my early days, I would not consider myself as a leader. I was managing people, and I was managing tasks. And it was all about me and me delivering results. I tried to control people. It doesn't work. That's not the role of a leader. And I've learned that subsequently. So yeah, so that's in essence me, Colleen, and my story. And I would love to hear from the room. Yeah.
Hi. That was absolutely.
Colleen, yeah.
Hi. That was absolutely amazing. And yes, I second the comments in the chat that it was so authentic, Linda. And that's why, I mean, your journey is so inspiring because it's you. And you know, the many years that I've known you, it's always been you and your authentic self. So any questions for Linda? I know we've got comments in the chat box, but use this as an opportunity to glean from a most amazingly global leader. So any questions or any comments for Linda? Buchle.
Hi, Cole. Look, it's more of a comment for me, and I have been putting notes on the chat, but I think what I really do agree with Linda is just how you are so open and honest about your own journey. And I think we don't share as much around what we have struggled with. We always share the successes and the good things. So it's good, and it's quite, exciting that as women we share also those difficult times that we went through, and the fact that you also were able to pick yourself up. But one thing, Cole, that you know about me, and I think Dash is also on the line, I always say that it's important to know your true self, and also to know that, look, there's certain things, you've got dreams, you've got goals, but more than anything, for you to be able to achieve those things, you need the support. So I like how Linda was going on and on about the support and the difficulties that come with having your family supporting you, and because they will always have their opinions, right? But I just love that fact that you never gave up and you actually did make sure that whatever you did, you got the necessary support that you needed. So that's me, Carl. Thank you.
Fantastic, Buhle. Zanele.
Thanks, Colleen. Hi, Linda, and thanks very much for your authentic story. Like I said on the chat, it resonates so much with me. And I mean, I think I don't want to talk about how do you achieve success and all that, but it's more around purpose. Like, how would you advise one to deal with feeling that you're not really living up to your purpose, or trying to find your purpose? Because I think you, as an individual and as a leader, you grow in your career, you grow with your family, but I don't know, I'm at a point where I'm not too sure whether I'm living my true purpose, and I'm not too sure how to live to find it.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one, because if you asked me what my purpose was 5 years ago, I would have quoted my company's purpose. I made my company's purpose my purpose. Did it come from the heart? No, it didn't, because I was also personally struggling with it. And what I found, and it may not apply to everyone, is until you work with self, until you sit and say, where am I? What is it that I'm happy with in life? What is it that ignites me? You'll find your purpose. And this is what happened when I had time to reflect during COVID. I just said, what is it that ignites me? What is it that just gets me excited? And when you find that what ignites you, and it could be little things, that you say, oh my word, that just ignites me. So what ignited me was raising money for those girls that do not have sanitary wear. It ignited me because I have a daughter, and I had a teenage daughter at the time. I'm one of 3 girls in a home. And I just then remembered the stories my mom used to say, how tough life was for them. And it ignited me. And that's when I said, this could be my purpose. And it started to become clearer with time that, and this is a spiritual thing, so it's a personal thing, and I respect everyone's got different religions and different stages of spirituality, but I came to believe that God put me on this earth as a woman coming from South Africa to make a difference to South African women now living in London doing a global job. Because it became clearer with time. And I say become clearer with time is as you started resonating with that, what's igniting with me, you get led in the right directions. And that's what I felt. So my call to you is you'll never know your purpose 100%. And I think we put pressure on ourselves, like knowing it. But start just looking and saying, gee whiz, what am I getting excited about? What is it like I really want to make a difference in? And then the purpose will start getting clearer with time. Starts getting clearer with time, and the more confident you become in your whole self, your purpose will become clear. Just something for everyone, just to give everyone something to think about is we are spiritual beings having a human experience on this earth. Okay? And being spiritual beings having a human experience on this earth, we are put here to create and make a difference. Make a difference to other people, make a difference to the planet. So if that helps you getting to where your purpose is or driving you somewhere, we all got some role to play. And people think purpose is big things. People think purpose is climbing Kilimanjaro and raising money for girls in need. Not necessary. It could be as little thing as smiling every day. because it makes you feel good and it makes the person feel good. Yes, you may smile at someone and they don't smile back at you. It's okay. I live in the UK. If you smile too much, they think there's something wrong with you. But Zanila, I hope that answers you in some way.
No, it definitely helps, especially the part about your purpose doesn't have to be a huge thing. I think that much, that definitely helps. Thank you.
Josh?
Thank you. I'll put my camera on so Linda doesn't feel like she's talking to a dot.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Colleen, first I want to say thanks. I think Buhle said it. Thank you for this platform. Linda, I was I've got a page full of notes here that I've made as you speak. But what I wanted to say to you, I don't have a question, I have a comment, was I think, so firstly, thank you for just being honest with us and being vulnerable. It's not always easy. But, you know, I think as women, we brought up with all of these stereotypes that, and I think you said it, that we must put our career second, we must put our children first, families must come first. And a lot of it is challenging these stereotypes as well as women to say, am I not a good mother if I am a career woman? You know, sometimes I think being a mother means thriving in my career so that I am fulfilled as well and I give the best to my children. Or I'm raising 2 boys for them to see strong female role models around them. So I just want to commend you and I want to thank you for sharing that with everybody, because I think sometimes there's a lot of judgment that comes with that when we say, and you know, as women, we do want careers as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you spot on. We do get a lot of judgment from family, from other work colleagues, and in some respects, also our children as well. You know, because you know there's that guilt factor that comes in. But yeah, I totally agree. You know, as coming from the society that we come from, I mean, my mother was a blue-collar worker, right? She worked in a factory. So she doesn't know what it is to work in a corporate job. You know, she doesn't know what it is to like be behind your computer. And some things, you know, in all fairness to them, they don't understand. Good to see you, Darshini.
Yeah, Linda, it was actually quite funny. You know, just your comment about the kids and you know, how we are, sometimes we feel that they wouldn't enjoy it if we're not with them. And I was talking to, and I always use this as an example of our kids and what we think they think. I was talking to somebody one day and I said, you know, I wouldn't give up my role as mom for any money in China. And my son turned around and he said to me, Mom, do you know how much money's in China? You might think again. So I think often we as moms, we take on this role and we think that we have to be with our kids 24 hours out of 24. Yeah. And yet that's not the thing. It's about that quality time that we spend that makes us moms.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's not about that 24 hours, 7 days a week, you know. So yeah. So I think we must give them a little bit more credit, because I think they also look at our journeys and that also inspires them to do a lot more, which we must understand. So we have to be on form because they are watching us, but yeah, we don't have to be with them 24 hours out of 24. Pam.
Yes, good day, everyone. Good day, Linda. Good day, Colleen. Sorry, I can't put on my camera. I'm in a public place. But for me also, it's just really a comment and just, you know, a message of appreciation. You know, I got very emotional as I was listening to you, because I think your story resonates with most of us, especially in corporate South Africa as women of color, and being really the minority in some of these boardrooms in the, you know, executive boardrooms. So I think I really got emotional. I almost started crying because I thought, look, you know, it's amazing how the universe conspires once you get into a space like that, where you feel like, start questioning yourself, what is my purpose? Why am I in this space? Why did I even leave my job? How could I have done this differently? But then you realize that, you know, everything, once you move with intention, the universe really conspires to bring like-minded people, to actually put you in spaces where you will just connect with people that have similar experiences as you. So that says, look, I am not alone. You know, there's nothing wrong with me. I am not a victim. I am a victor. So I think I also, you know, most of my career operated in very male-dominated industries. And, you know, you have your joys, but you also have very, very hurtful experiences. So, and thank you for making the points around limiting beliefs as well, thinking that we are not good enough. I suffered from that for a very, very long time, even until recently, where last year, I took a bold step to actually say, this is my purpose, regardless of whoever says whatever, this is the message I'm going to put out there, and I'll leave it to the universe. And it has brought me to this point, and I'm just really grateful to have listened to your story today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Pat?
You know,
Sorry, Linda, you go for it before.
Yeah, I was just going to give, thank you, Pam, so much for sharing that. And in many respects, you know, South Africa with our history, you know, it's evolutional. But ladies, I just want to share something, and guys, is this phenomenon that we face is a global one. It's a global one, and mind you, I travel to many countries and I have business meetings in many countries. What we face in South Africa is not dissimilar around the world, and in some regions it's actually worse than others. So I think I have to applaud South Africa and South Africa, corporate South Africa. I tell you why, because the amount of women that I see in jobs, in management jobs, in executive jobs in South Africa is actually significantly high. And I would think it would be higher in some places, and it's not. It's only because there's so many things that you either got to do it for compliance, or leaders are becoming far more conscious of it. But I do agree with Pam that in many respects, tough on us, right? Tough enough because of the social backgrounds that we come from. Cool.
Pat?
Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you once again. I just want to echo about the great platform and great conversation. Linda, I almost had tears in my eyes listening to your story, because I think already so many people mentioned that your story really, really resonates. And I think for me, one of the key things, you know, that I've also taken away and you re-emphasized is it's about the ability to get out of your comfort zone, you know, and pushing yourself. And that's where you highlighted, you know, it brings about happiness, it brings about growth, and it brings about opportunity. So thank you so much for that. My one question to you, and I think you touched on it a bit earlier when you responded to Pam about the global issues that women experience. I recently moved to the Netherlands. You know, being born and bred in South Africa, and last year decided to do the move, and I moved in December last year. And you know, for me, it's quite a struggle at the moment, because the heart is still, you know, where motherland is, if I can call it that way. And at the same time, you have a different purpose of why you made the decision to actually move. I just wanted to know if you can share, you know, some of the strategies that you've actually used, you know, in your last 2 years, you know, in London, and what has helped you to navigate in that space, highlighting the fact that you say it may not always be as easy as what we thought for women, you know, in a global space, despite us being women that have experienced the globe from a business perspective, from a travel perspective, and also coming from a very diversified background, you know, where we come from, South Africa. So would really love to hear some of your insights on that, and how do you deal with that, yeah, where the heart is versus where you currently are. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. And I must say congratulations with the opportunity to move to the Netherlands, because it's an adventure. It's an opportunity. But there's a reason you got sent to the Netherlands, okay? Whether, for whatever your reason is, but you got sent there. And you got sent there to make a difference. And I tell you what I mean by that is, it's something that I went through when I was coming over to make this decision and come to the UK, because we have good lives in South Africa. And Pat, you can attest to that. You're living in the Netherlands. What I mean by that is beautiful climate, diversity of people. We've got nannies, maids, gardeners. Okay, we've got beautiful infrastructure. Okay, and then there's something about the Ubuntu spirit of South Africa. Okay, I am because we are. It's something that's within the thread of how we do things. And when you move over to a different country, you got the culture is starks apart. Okay? And I knew this when I was coming. And what I said is, and Pat, I hope this helps you. I said, I'm in the UK. I will respect the culture. I will respect the people because I'm in their country. Okay? However, in doing that, I will bring my Ubuntu self because I'm a South African. I come with flair. I come with certain joy. I come with certain struggles that someone in the UK will never understand. But I will bring that side of me into the country. Okay. And immigration is not easy. And it's a topic that I've discussed separately, but immigration is definitely not for the faint-hearted, especially when you're moving to the first world countries. And I've learned to embrace it. I've learned to say, what can I make of what I have? I've learned to call it an adventure. Okay. And you know, my last point when I said is, I can only control myself. I cannot control other people. I cannot go and suddenly change a culture of 56 million Brits. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Okay. As much as there's some things that it's different. It's different to where I come from. But I'm absolutely respectful because I've come to their country. And in the way I work and the way I do things, I will do it my South African way. I hope that answers your question. We can talk more. We can talk more about this. Give me a call and we can talk more about this.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for sharing. I think that's quite powerful. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Colleen.
Any other comments, questions for Linda? No? Linda, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So awesome for us to be able to spend the time with one of our most authentic leaders. And I really appreciate you making time early morning. I know you're an early riser, but still it's very early for you in the morning. So thank you so much. Have the most awesome day and wish you every bit of success with your journey.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.